At this time, I'd like to call the Village of Midlothian Committee meeting for March 18th, 2015 to order. Roll call.
Trustee Gillis.
Here.
Trustee Price.
Here.
Trustee Killily.
Here.
Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Trustee Moskell.
Here.
Trustee Schiavone.
Here.
Mayor Riley.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to open the floor to public comment. If you'd like to address the board, now is the time.
I have a question.
Okay.
On the bills that we're paying for the water bills, by paying them online, there's a fee. How much is this fee?
And I thought there was
There
no fee.
should not be a fee.
There should not be a fee associated with it. Are they, is it saying it when you try to pay online that there's a fee?
Well, I paid, when I came in, I paid it and put it where it comes out from my credit card every time.
Okay.
So then when it came on the receipt came up on the internet, it's gave me 2 receipts for the 2 different apartments and said there was a fee attached to both of them, but it didn't say what the fee was.
Do you have a copy of your bill, or can you get me a copy of your bill, Theta, and then I can get it, and we can investigate it through the water department?
Yeah, I'll have Elizabeth print it out.
I'd appreciate it. If you can get it to me, have Elizabeth, she can just email it to me.
Okay,
There shouldn't be a fee on there, even with the new service.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else? No further comments from the public. I'll close the floor. We'll go on to trustee business. Trustee Kress.
I have a number of updates, and some that are not on the agenda, because I've been getting them since the agenda was prepared. So I'll start at the top. Rain Ready update. We had our Rain Ready kickoff last Thursday evening in this room, and I want to thank Trustee LaRue, Trustee Killey, Trustee Moskell, and Trustee Gillis for attending. We had, I believe, Jerry, you said over 76 people attended?
Yeah, I took the numbers 76.
So it was, the room was packed. Thank the Midlothian group for being here, Helen's leadership again. We had Army Corps of Engineers, there were 4 of them here, they're engineers. We had Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and Harriet Festing and Burrell Poe from Center for Neighborhood Technology. I thought the presentations were phenomenal, the mapping, some of the proposed solutions. I am in the process now of forming our resident steering committee. Emails have gone out. Everybody's getting back to me with their availability as far as times and dates. We probably will not have our first meeting until April, but we are taking the next step. And the presentations are all online. Nicole has put all the presentations online, and I had her put a link to the Center for Neighborhood Technology's Rain Ready program. So it's really exciting information. The second item, and Helen, I just gave an update on Rain Ready. And we're forming our steering committee. Second item that I have is our financial, what I think we need to seriously consider is hiring a financial consultant for the TIF evaluation. If we are going to be offering any type of incentive for the TIF, none of us have the knowledge or expertise to run the numbers. And I think we need to seriously consider either hiring a McCain McKenna or Spear, and I would just like the board's input on that.
I would totally agree with you.
Okay.
I would like to actually have somebody manage the TIF from that point forward also, because if it does start moving.
Right, we don't have
How do we,
expertise.
yeah.
And just for them, I mean, we need to make sure that whatever incentives there are, that it's very fair and balanced, and that the village doesn't get hurt in the long run. So I strongly recommend that it might be a little bit premature right now, but if that happens, I think we definitely have to hire professionals to do the calculations.
What do they do? I mean, what do they exactly do? They determine what could be possible
Reimbursement reimbursements from the
We got
TIF.
the TIF and
Right.
what's eligible for TIF expenditures and
It just to have it make sense, you know, somebody could come in and ask us for all these things, and it wouldn't make financial sense for the village to give them those incentives. You know, there's gotta be certain bases, and, I remember going through that. We had, Don, were you in the interviews with Bob Richlicki or Alan with King McKenna? Yeah, I mean, they run the stuff, they run the
And
numbers.
from what I understand, Harry, is their service can actually be paid out of the TIF.
Yeah, it's all
It's
tip
a
eligible.
It would be
It's all tip
reimbursable from the
eligible.
that
TIF.
rings a bell.
Yeah.
That rings a bell. I think we talked about that before.
King McKenna,
King McKenna, Bob Richlicki,
Someone had said that anybody that manages the TIF could be paid.
it's tip eligible.
right.
So I just wanted to bring that up.
I'll see if I can get some quotes.
Okay. Open lands grant, it has been submitted. It was due on Sunday and I submitted it Saturday. We should know if we are awarded the grant by the end of June, and that would be to supplement the Illinois Green Infrastructure Grant. The Eagle Scout project update, the Veterans Committee met on Monday evening. We had a quorum. A lot of the focus was on the parade, some new and exciting ideas, so stay tuned. And if anybody's interested in participating in the parade, the participation forms are online. I have flyers. But at our last, I think it was our last committee meeting, Jerry, I gave this to you to take back to the fire department, Josh Shucharski's Eagle Project, and you said it's okay.
Yes, the only thing you cannot touch it, connect to it at all,
Can't touch the beam,
Right.
okay.
but you can put you over.
So, Al Sucharski and his brother Mike were at the meeting, so I told them projects ago, they have to start putting their paperwork together to submit to council, and we're gonna have to get a letter from, I'll send an email to Steve, copy you, we're gonna have to get a letter saying that it's approved by the fire department. Okay?
Rates at 27th, correct?
The Saturday before, I think it's June 27th. Okay. And then my next, and this was kind of a coincidence that I thought about putting this information education process for referendum questions on the ballot. We've done no outreach to educate the residents as to why these two questions are on the ballot. And my fear is that both of these are going to fail miserably. Shame on us for not getting information out there. I know we cannot promote it one way or the other, but we can certainly educate the residents. And they need to know that these questions are on the ballot as an alternative to this property tax increase. So we need to let them know why they're out there, and we need to educate them. And I think we should at least at a minimum have it on the website articulating what these are. And I would think it's important enough that we should probably do a mailer. You know, we can't promote it, but we can explain it. And I don't know how anybody else on the board feels about that. And I got this in the mail today from, and they knew the Main Street Organization of Realtors. So that's why I think it's really important that we get some information out there so the residents know why these two referendum questions are on the ballot. Anybody else have any?
Yeah, I think we need to explain it. And just in those terms too, say, you said you didn't want a property tax, well, these are two alternatives to when you do have the money, especially with a property, the transfer tax. We said, okay, you don't have the money for the property tax, and then you just cut your property's worth more. Okay, you don't have, doesn't mean you're any richer, you don't have more cash in your pocket, but when you do have the money, by selling your property, then we think it's only be fairer and better that you would actually have the money in your hand, you can pay the tax. And I think we should put it together in those terms, per Alan's suggestion. I think that was his original thought, right? And the 911 people don't realize there's probably $140,000 deficit or some such term, $140,000 deficit each year, and 911, and that's a big burden on the village. And originally when it started, 911 paid for itself. But over years, of course.
Expenses went up and landlines decreased.
Right,
The referendum is only asking to put it on the landlines,
Yes.
that's right.
That's all it can do.
That's all it can do.
That's all it can do.
so, then that's basically the issue. Costs went up and use of landlines went way down, so.
And so without this, we have to supplement the bills every month out of the general fund. And it says up to, I think it's, the way the question is raised, it says up to $4. 425 doesn't necessarily mean we're going to do that, but I think we need to get information out there to the residents, and it has to happen very quickly.
Do we have any idea what a mass mailer would run us?
We could probably just, whatever the postage would be.
That's what I'm asking, do you?
I have no idea,
No.
somebody here should be able to figure it out with the bulk mail.
I can probably get it through like the water department, like what it costs them every month to mail out just the water.
I'm
bills.
just,
Who are we going to get to develop the mailer?
I can try my hand at it. I can contact my daughter, Lisa, see if she can maybe help me with wording and things like that.
and I think as a final, Alan should at least have some input or a set of eyes on it as well as, from the finance committee. I would feel more comfortable if Alan at least reviewed it before it went out. And maybe you could have some input into it as well, Alan, only because I just think it's really important. And, because if these don't pass, and we're still trying to, and we're still trying to figure out where we are financially, then we have to come up with something else. So it's important.
I'll see how quickly I can
There's
get
not
it.
been something else left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which leads me, this whole thing still with our finances. I had asked Ryan to put together a list of all the expenditures, and he emailed it to me today from the $100,000 Will Davis grant. And I guess I'm concerned because so much money has been spent, and he said that none of the money has been received yet. Do we know, Mayor, when we will get this money?
They're hoping very soon, the budget, and actually, this was a topic of discussion down in Springfield, and this exact grant was actually reappropriated by the governor. It's finishing its final phase of review from the governor's office. He insisted on reviewing all grants that were issued, and this one, the $60,000 grant didn't play into position because it's already been moving along. This one was being redone. The 125 was being questioned still. That was going to buy the high lift.
Right,
Right.
but we haven't spent any of that money. I mean, this money, there's only $5,000 left, so, and I did send this to the finance committee today. Just, I want to be upfront, I did send this to the finance committee today. But my
Yeah.
concern is, we spent a lot.
According to Brook Docket, it should be coming shortly. The approval and everything, the money released very quickly is what I was saying.
Mayor, I know I emailed you today sort of late, so I don't know if you had a chance to do any homework, but I asked you about two things. One is the prevailing wage, if we got all our prevailing wage documents for each contractor, which I'm assuming we do.
We did, we had them all on record.
Good, okay, and that, I guess to maybe an oversight that we were supposed to have one of these expenditures bid because it was $28,395 to paint the village hall through, and according to municipal law and state law, we were supposed to bid everything over $20,000. So I don't know if there's a way of rendering that. You know, I mean, for further discussion, maybe we have to report it, or maybe we have, I don't know what it.
Right, and I actually noticed that, because that actually came in separate bids, because we were doing so many different locations. We did the village
Also,
hall.
it never was combined.
No, it was not, and it was just, we took the cheapest quotes from all locations, because we looked in to see the most we could get done with the grant monies.
With everything.
And we had the firehouse, at Firehouse 2 bid out, Firehouse here bid out, the outside Village Hall here bid out, so they all came in separately, and then as they came when he did the total, that
Yeah, but
that company ended up getting all of them. So I actually did throw Brooke a line on that one saying it was individually bid because it was 3 separate locations. And she has not returned my email on that. I don't think there's gonna be an issue though.
Because they're all separate locations.
Correct.
There's almost separate expenditures.
Correct. And we could have, if we didn't think we had enough money in the grant, we would have bumped one of those out of the picture. Right.
So you're gonna run that?
I'm running it past our administrator. And I'll get you her answer in writing.
Fine.
Okay?
And the other question I had, and I had sent an email to Alan, and I don't know if anybody else can shed any more light on this. We had a McGladrey bill, and there were accounting services on it for over $12,000, and I had asked Alan about it. And he did check with John George, and I don't have it in front of me, so, but I think my memory serves me correctly, it was close to 92 hours at $130 an hour. And it was for bank reconciliations. I thought Ryan was supposed to be doing the bank reconciliations, so I'm not really sure why we paid McGladrey $12,000 to do bank reconciliations. I just feel that that wasn't an appropriate expenditure, and if we needed bank reconciliations done, we probably could have hired an accounting student, or maybe went to account temps and then hired somebody on a temporary basis to have that task done at a much lesser cost. I guess I don't know if anybody else has anything that they would like to add to that, but if we have this type of issue again, and I hope we don't, that maybe can be brought to the finance committee, or we can try to find a way to get the work done at not such a great expenditure.
So is it in our past practice to have them do that?
They did it last year also, yes. Just trying to get the accounts, there are multiple accounts that need to be reconciled every month, and Ryan was still kind of new into this with the bank recs. And the one she was doing was the general account, which is the most complicated, where he was doing all the smaller accounts, which were all caught up to date. And we were just trying to get the figures to the finance committee as quickly as possible. And this is what John George had recommended, that they had to be reconciled because you couldn't move forward without doing it. And so I just did what we did last year, and that's why it got done this way. Ryan is now staying up to date on all of them. She actually worked with him to teach him how she was doing it. So I don't think this will ever be an issue again with the village. But if it ever appears to be that way, I will make sure that I reach out to the finance committee and we can have discussion at that point.
I think John was clear that it was about getting caught up, I think, through the end of the year. And there's notes on the timesheets from the library about transitioning things or training run. But I mean, it seemed like a lot of hours, I'm surprised, 97 hours.
Well, we asked the mayor to try to expedite the financial reporting, to try to get it caught up as much as possible, and that was part of it. Maybe we, I think trustee Price's point is maybe we could have done it a little cheaper, maybe we couldn't have, I don't know, and I'm not even sure, but we definitely asked you, we were asking you every day, practically, hey, let's get this caught up, and so, thank you for paying attention and trying to get it caught up, and it was just surprising that it was a lot of hours, but I guess, I don't know how many bank recs she had to catch up with, so that's probably all over.
Okay, can I keep going?
Sure.
I got more.
Mhm.
We had talked about the ADA spaces at the Metro lots, and I had gotten an email from Jeff Koza Monday, wanting to know, he looked at our TOD plan, filled out the parking spaces from the TOD plan, and wanted me to confirm were those accurate. So, I don't know. So what I did, I kind of did what I do, and I just reached out to Metro, our community affairs rep, Noel Gallardo, today, and he got right back to me and verified the parking spaces. And Gary, I think you were the one, this was the police concern with the ADAs. We have 12 ADA spaces at parking lot number 1. Okay.
The main parking lot at the station.
Yes, yes. If we want, and if we want to change that, Metro needs to review any proposed plan to convert non-ADA spaces to ADA. Okay, we just can't do it. So we would have to submit a proposal. So instead of having everybody, Joe wasting his time and Jeff billing us, I'm just gonna let him know, I've got this. We've got 12. If we want to convert any more, we have to submit a proposal to them. So I guess where do we go?
Are we asking to voluntarily convert some, or by statute? We
No,
have
we're-
so many by,
They're all filled now. Whatever reason, more people are driving, they're taking the train, but all the spots we have are filled. Police department checked it out, so everyone there is parking legally, and we still have handicapped commuters that have no place to park. So
okay, so we're deciding voluntarily to increase the number as opposed to.
we're thinking about it, I don't know.
I mean, we've met the mandate.
Yes.
For practice.
So Gary, where do we go from here then?
There you
Well,
go.
basically, it was a commuter that took the 7:30 train that couldn't park at the handicap spots, and there's two major trains after that that are express trains, which are the most busy, right? Is that right? They're the busiest train. So, no, I would think 5 to 6 spots I would put on. To me, I think it's better to have too many and have a 1 or 2 empty than having the couple people that can't access the train. And actually, I don't think those would be empty, because if people found out, I think some other people from other towns, if they found out we had a couple open spots, I think they'd come to us too.
So one handicap spot would actually take up 2 regular spots, so if we put in 5, we would lose 5.
Those 10 spots.
Well, we lose 5, like,
Right, 5, right.
so $1.25 a day.
Well, but there is open spots across the street.
Yeah, I mean, some of those people could move. to
Yeah, I
the
mean,
other lots.
there's a regular commuter
Not
that go
handicap.
across the street, I understand.
Oh,
Yeah, we
There's one-
usually have, when I take the train, yeah.
That lot fills up first.
sure, right.
Well, I guess we can do it, we can do
Yeah.
it.
What do we need, a formal,
What is Metro balking at making more, or?
No,
Do they-
We just have to propose it.
we have to propose it, we just can't do it, we have to
Who
propose
actually
it.
does the striping? Us?
I will find out.
It'll come out of Metro Fund.
Funds, yeah,
Pay for it.
by somebody, probably not us.
Well, right, I mean, Jerry has to spray can.
Yeah, that one. That'll reduce
Well,
the,
this would be a great time for us to find out if we are gonna change the complexity of the lot, because, Joe Sperry has made recommendations to me that we should seriously think about spending Metro money to resurface the Metro lots, just because they're looking really terrible. So he was trying to, this would be a good time for us to do it, instead of changing it after we've.
Well, I,
what is
Jeff?
fair balance? What
Will
is
Jeff
fair
work on a
balance?
proposal? Will Jeff work on a proposal for us, or he wants you to do that too?
I guess, well, you,
I think Superintendent Sperry should handle it.
Yeah, he should be able to do
This
that,
is no
the
brainer.
request.
what?
He puts in a request from Metro, he'll get his request back, and then he'll,
So much the handicap spots? Yeah.
Well, I started the conversation, so I don't mind continuing, and I would certainly copy him in on it.
that's up to you.
Do we need to get an estimate on the cost of resurfacing those lots?
Oh, we would definitely
They're
get,
gonna go off to bid.
Yeah, but do we have the money available, or we don't know if we have the money available?
Come on.
depends on how much, it would come out of the Metro
Well, yeah,
fund.
but is there enough money there?
There's quite a bit of money in the Metro fund still, so even with the expenditures for the police that we put out and things like that, that's why he suggested it, just because he saw the balance in that account, and he's like, this would be a good idea to use the Metro funds in that fashion, you can't use it for anything else.
In the past, Mayor, what we've done is on things like this, we try to combine that with a company that was doing work in Midlothian as it was, and we've got a cheaper quote. So if we're doing the CBDG grant is resurfacing for roads, is that right?
Yeah, but we wouldn't be doing that work until 2016. It's way out there.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I mean, but it'd be nice if there was if we could find a company that was doing road resurfacing in the general area. I think we'd get a cheaper price, because they usually give us a cheaper price if they have their equipment already out. That's a major expense for them.
Right.
So,
We'll start getting quotes and things, and you'll then follow up with
well,
Metro.
how many, I can reach out to them and what should we request?
How many is in a row? I guess I'm.
This is the only one I've heard, only one community that I've heard that said there wasn't enough spots, so I don't know if we need 5 or 4.
Yeah, has anybody else made a link to the village
I
hall?
have not received any complaints, formal complaints of it, no.
You only hear that
This
once.
commuter knows me, and so she happened to call me up and say, hi, you know, I mean, you know, and I do believe that there may be other commuters that are maybe bypassing our town just because we don't have enough handicapped parking. I don't know, how many is in a row?
How many is in a row?
How many handicapped spots, I mean,
There's 12 at,
but I mean, how many, is that one row, or?
It's an oddly shaped lot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The line across the front of the station and then wraps around 147th Street. Those are all handicapped.
Okay. Oh,
and I don't think it does wrap around anymore. I think it used to. Now it's just the one parallel to the track.
Tracks.
That's, because someone else knew that too. I think Chief Cotton said,
Used to wrap
he
around.
said it used to go along the parallel to train tracks and 147. Yeah, those were all handicapped, and I drove by the other day, and it didn't look like the ones on 147. He went out there, and he said, no, the ones on 147 are handicapped.
I think it just would make sense if we could, if there was, we could keep roads for handicap parking.
Well, it probably should be, it should be the adjacent to the tracks, and then adjacent to those cars should be the other set right across from the
Yeah, so it would help the people who, don't wanna park handicap parking, but don't realize that it's handicap parking, we don't wanna, you know, do anything bad for that either. So whatever the roads, whatever the, you know, if there's 4 handicap parking spots, we try to keep it the same way.
The
Or if
same
there's 6, we try to
configuration?
keep it the same way. I don't know how many is, you know, whatever that roll.
Well, isn't it still 12 spots? Jason, it can't be. Do we lose spots? Well, apparently we need to go over there.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah,
go
well,
over
they're
there.
24.
Need to make a road trip.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay, fine.
I'll walk over.
okay, here, you walk over there. and-
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's funny, they said that, that's exactly what, Chief Cotton, when we rode over, he was like, oh, no, they're not.
We did a survey several years back, and I know that we questioned everybody at park, and they parked adjacent to the tracks and then around 147th Street, and that was wrong at that time,
I'll
so.
take a field trip.
Okay, thanks, and you'll let me know.
Yes.
Okay. Kind of related to Metro, but not related to the entire village. I think last year our landscaping was pathetic, and I didn't put it on the agenda because I forgot. But what do we think about going out to bid for landscaping services?
It was done to cut costs, and we saw the results of cutting costs.
I got more complaints.
Yeah, plus we also may want to include, including the foreclosed homes.
Well, that can be paid for out of IDA funds, but yeah, you're right, we could get a bid for the foreclosed homes, yes.
Yeah, that's this time of year, we think we're a little high, we're paying a little too much for
That is one
that. Maybe if
thing.
it was all a package deal, that, you know, maybe we could get a better, is there, I don't know what we have for, plants there, is there something less maintenance that we could plant? I don't don't even know what we have.
I'm just talking about having whatever we would have, the village hall complex and milk stop and
Public Works was taking care of some of it.
they
Yeah.
were, but they were overburdened and they're not landscaped.
You know, I mean, like, I know about the Milkway, you know, they have the annuals there, they had the annuals there, and then they had this other stuff here and so on and so forth. What about the possibility of just putting
Running.
shrubbery around there, so it would be less maintenance, you know what I mean?
But John, all I'm talking at this point is
Okay.
the weekly grass cutting and weed pulling, because we would have weeds all around here this high. And if we could go back to like when we had a service, is that something the board would like to consider?
We cut the service to save money now. We want to bring it back.
I say we put it out for bid, we can reject all bids and see what I don't know, things looked so bad last year. I'm just asking for input.
It's one of the things we talked about in November at the finance committee meeting, and we actually put it on the list as something that we would go back to doing.
Okay.
What was the cost of the landscaping contract?
28,000 is what I did. Under November.
Oh, 28.
But we paid for mostly out of Metro funds.
28,000 per year?
Yes.
Yes.
For, it wasn't even a year, it was, 6 months,
It was more than 6 months.
May to October.
Well, for the season.
For the
Yeah.
season, yeah, whatever it is.
But is that something you think we should consider?
Well, one of the things that we did to have Public Works assist was we purchased a riding lawnmower for them to use to get this stuff done. The milk wagon, they were getting a guy come in an hour early to do the Metro block, here on this side of, 147th Street. If it's just the landscaping part of it, meaning the shrubs, the flowers, the weeds,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we should incorporate that in the landscape contract and still let our guys cut the grass, because I think they're more than able to do that. I believe even the fire department's more than able to cut the grass here. So we may be able to save on that, just, condense it into, the garden.
Detailing.
Right,
Landscape detailing?
right. I mean, I don't know for sure, I could probably get the information from Superintendent Square, exactly what they cut. I know they did the milk wagon, they did both sides, of Pulaski, they did the side of Metro lot. I know the Park District was cutting grade A's, so that leaves the
They were also doing the Historical Society.
Public Works.
Mhm.
Okay.
I was doing it for a while, and when they got the new riding lawnmower, they said it was just as easy for them to do it.
Okay, so I'll reach out to Joe,
Okay.
see what areas they have cut previously, and see if they're still able to do that this year.
Okay, and then maybe have him pull the last time it went out to bid, and then just do the bid specs off of that.
Well, I can tell you that it didn't go out to bid the last 3 years because the company we had was, they gave us a better deal each year.
But I think we need to go out to bid.
No, it does.
So we would revise the bid specs now, because it would be, they'd be bidding on something, and they wouldn't be bidding on grass cutting, they would be bidding on the, maintaining the landscaping and the weeds. So you could probably just cut and paste from the last time it went out,
Okay.
okay?
But it's a time to bid for the foreclosed homes.
Yes, and add the foreclosed homes on there. And then I got an email, and this is, I think, my last item. I just got this email today. And this is from, Steve Duggan, the developer for Brightway Auto. Hi Karen, I'm going to drop off some photos, which he did, so I'm gonna start passing them. I'm going to drop off some photos of the proposed building that Brightway plans for their site. The building is a prefabricated office building, and the photos you are seeing are the actual photos of the building. The building is currently located at the Saginaw, Michigan site, but will be relocated to Midlothian with the village's authorization. Please let me know if this building conforms to the expectations of the village, or if a zoning variance is going to be required. The building is not a cheap building, it costs Brightway about $30,000 to acquire it. Now, I haven't had time to go look at our code book. I'm not sure, do we even allow a prefabricated building?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't give you
I
that.
believe not. Did we have somebody wanted to put that up by, 146 in Pulaski? We approached,
Trailer or prefab? I think there's a difference between a trailer and a prefabricated building.
What does it look like, a mobile home?
Yeah,
But it is gonna have water and sewer hookup?
Well, it would have to.
Yeah.
It would have to, because,
right, that's what Chrysler did have on their property initially, was a prefab. And isn't that what the Cardio on 145th and Pulaski?
that's
has?
right, that's where,
So it's the
they're
same
talking.
thing.
well, everybody look at the pictures, and then
lot was closer to 147th Street, and they had a prefab building.
Toward the back of the lot, right?
Right in
No,
the
Middle, about in the middle.
middle.
I remember that.
So basically, there was 2 on Cicero and 1 on Pulaski.
Where is it? The triple wide.
Right way, I'm in Pulaski.
The triple wide.
That's what it looks like.
We allow
He
them.
wants to put that on Pulaski? Is that what he-
In the right way, he wants to replace what they have
Oh,
with this.
replace it.
We've had what, that, we would go back and forth with him for a
They
month.
can stick it in their ear, literally. $30,000 bill and they want a tax break for it.
300,000.
I'm sorry.
He said 300,000.
Oh,
Oh, I thought you said
300,000.
No, 300,000.
Oh, you said
they're
30,000.
full of, you said 30, but they.
No, I'm sorry,
They're
300,000.
full
For this?
of, they're
Yeah.
full of.
I don't know about
Are
this.
you kidding me?
They got taken to the cleaners with the big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you, just tell me,
30,000 would be closer.
tell me what I'm supposed
Wow.
to. Well, first of all, I don't even know if our zoning allows that.
So that's probably where we start.
I'm gonna start with that.
I got a camper, campground's worth $300,000.
Yeah. It's not much different.
If our zoning allows it, then we don't really have,
Yeah, you know, see, if we're gonna give tax, we're gonna give tax breaks, we can have anything we want. We're doing an RDA, they want either, well,
They
they want,
want-
right now, they want a Class A and sales, right, and they're not getting both, they should know that right off the bat. But for this,
And the one that's there now, they're gonna take out?
He hasn't told me, so I would assume, but I would have to ask him. So I guess tomorrow I'll have Gwen,
I think we need to see if it's even allowable under the ordinance.
right, I'll have her research the ordinance in the morning. And
I'd be inclined to only offer tax breaks,
you being like, what, Ellen?
only offering tax breaks for a permanent structure. Just my opinion.
And that's, so we have to do a little bit of research.
we have to,
Hmm?
we have to.
We have to.
I can show, I know, I can go on the website and show them a couple pictures of buildings they have in Michigan that we probably would want. And you show them that, and you show them that, and it's a nice looking building, it's probably brick. And you show them that, we might give them tax break. For this thing, give them a break.
Okay, a little more research, but I'm gonna have to tell them, that we're gonna have to check on this, so I'll check, have one start checking tomorrow morning. And that's all I have.
And, trustee Schifoni.
All I have is a simple reminder, once again, anybody's gonna do work on or about their property or residence, please contact the building department and make sure, submit your ideas, plans, or whatever, make sure it's okay to do. We had one gentleman who decided to do it and take pictures, and then when he got caught, he wanted to show the building inspector the pictures. So make sure everything was all right, verify everything was all right. He ended up with a fine. He could have had him pull it out, because it was an addition onto a garage. Anyhow, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Willis.
yes, a couple of things. My last correspondence with Chief Hotwagner pertaining to outstanding tickets for the Razik building. Mayor, you know if Mr. Gleason is corresponding, if there's any movement on that?
We are going to start putting a lien on the property, just because he's now refusing to take our tickets. So we're starting the process of, like, basically recounting the building now, just because he's not, I haven't talked to this man in over 2 months. And I've reached out to talk to him because he supposedly had a new developer and a new real estate person, and it's gotta stop.
Should the fire department still continue to,
No, I had asked Attorney Gleason, and he says it's unnecessary. We've got a stack of them, probably it's unnecessary. We know we would still be ticketing on a daily basis because he's still not in compliance.
Just a sprinkler system?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain point where we would,
sticker
close it out? because it's unsafe.
Right, we're sort of putting ourselves in no man's land by not doing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Especially if it's a sprinkler system, something happens. I think we should sticker the thing, that should they pay up, or they would, I'm sorry, not pay up, but the sprinkler system is the main thing. The fines,
Right,
great, but we want to bring them up to compliance, that's the main thing.
compliance, you're exactly right.
Oh, I think we should put a little sticker on his door.
I'll get authorization to go ahead and make sure that it's perfect to do,
Okay,
and I'll let you know what I find out, okay, Jim?
okay, thank you.
Hate to cause pain to Dollar Tree, but they'll get his attention if you can.
I want to let the board know that we have received a letter of resignation from firefighter paramedic Scott Taylor. His last day of work will be March 30th. Scott Taylor has decided to take an offer of employment with the city of Chicago as a paramedic. One of the things that we need to make sure we're aware of too is that the fire department closed their application today, accepting applications yesterday. They have a test coming up. I believe it starts with an orientation on the 28th at 8:30, and then a written test follows that at 10 a.m. We have retirement of firefighter paramedic Tim Forrest. Now, Mr. Taylor. We also still have John on medical leave that I don't believe he's even due to possibly come back until May of that. I'll work on getting an update on his status. So we're going to be down 3 starting at the end of March, in a couple of weeks. We're also moving into vacation time you guys are going to be getting, and we have the minimum manual requirements, so overtime is going to start accumulating rather quickly for the fire department. So I'm hoping that they can expedite the list. I believe I heard that they are able to give them results the day of the test. So we'll have a cutoff right then and there, how many people move to the next testing phase. So I think maybe we may want to let our fire and police commissioners aware of the fact that when they do get the information that we expedite it so that we can alleviate any of the overtime we can accumulate from these employment changes. So just want to let the board know about that. Chief Hotwagner is working on any due time or vacation buyout time that he's allotted or any other paperwork that needs to get done, so that'll all happen by the 30th. A couple of weeks ago, I discussed about the e-waste container at Station 2. I don't know if anybody has any more input on where we could put that. I've been thinking hard and long on this because it definitely needs to come out of the fire department. They need the room desperately. It's my thought, if we cannot come up with another place, then we just eliminate the e-waste collection at that facility. It's just not feasible for their public works doesn't have any room either. We talked about the recycle station that we've eliminated on Waverly, but that doesn't have any overhead protection. The other option is putting something there without it collecting anything that would be recyclable, like computers. Not taking computers. It would just basically be recycled trash then. That's the only option I came up with. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on that.
Is it getting a lot of use?
It was initially when they took TVs. They're not now, but the problem that the fire department is having is because they're on calls, the hours were posted, people just drop stuff off in the parking lot, and they're finding stuff on a daily basis. It's not something they want to do, but they know, okay, we got to go pick up all the garbage in the parking lot before we leave shift dinner. I think it's wore out its welcome once they eliminated TVs being recycled there, so I don't care if you were instrumental in bringing this in. I don't know if
What are they getting there, Jared?
well, initially it was a lot of TVs and computers monitors and such that they would, recycle and, all these veterans are being given, pieces of this equipment that are reusable again. So I don't know if there's a way to track from the company that's doing it, if it's even feasible to even try and find a spot in town. But to my knowledge, I can't think of any other place that would take it indoors.
George, they would never with a post for it, would they? It'd be a collection site?
No, 'cause we ought to get that truck out there now in front of the post, we're in the parking lot now.
Just trying to think of where.
How big a space is this taking?
It's like a sediment,
Okay, so it's not big,
no, but
it's just tall.
it takes up a lot of room and you can't move it. I mean, if it gets loaded and stuff, and really, the pieces of equipment are backed up, especially with the new ambulance now, and that's the reason why, because of the fact that we're gonna have one at each, or possibly two at Station 2. It's just not feasible for a woman. I mean, that's 6, 8 feet they need.
When people were bringing it, did they need a fireman to let them?
Or they had to be, the days that they were, we scheduled it, you know, obviously we have people there all the time,
Right.
but now people are just dropping it off whenever.
So they can't get into this.
Right, if they're not in the station, or they're out on a call, and they bring stuff over there, and nobody's there, they're not coming back, they're just leaving it there.
So, I'm just trying to get, the people can't put it in themselves.
No,
It's inside the building closed.
it's in the building.
Oh, it's inside the building
Yes.
full? Okay. So if, for example, we went to the recycle center and we put something over this, are we comfortable with people just bringing it there and?
The problem you have is the humidity, the weather changes would mess with the,
No, I'm just saying, let's assume we were able to get some sort of enclosure that would be acceptable. Are we comfortable with people just dropping it off in that, whatever it would be?
It'll be the same issue there, they just drop off
They'll leave it
the
in
lock gate and
in
just put it outside.
Well, I'm saying, in other words, we wouldn't leave it open. We wouldn't be comfortable with just leaving this place accessible. and
similar
just
to how we
putting it
did
into
it
a building.
before.
Pardon me?
Similar to how we did it before. It wasn't open before when it was a recycling center. They had hours of operation, of course, to open and close it.
Right.
So you
And somebody was there to,
No,
Police officer would open in the morning and we close at night.
right. People would take it upon themselves to put it in the right container. whatever.
okay. So I'm just wondering, in my own thought, is this something that if we bought a storage shed or something like that, or some such operation like that, you know, at Home Depot or something like that, that we could put it in the recycling center and this, I
I
don't know
would
what
say that that would be okay if we were getting some sort of purpose out of it. There are recycling centers, not in our town, but in other neighboring towns that do take this stuff. You know, so my thought is that the need isn't as great because they stopped taking TVs. That was the bulk of the returns. Or-
I think people don't realize they're not supposed to recycle e-waste. I think that's something, it's not just TVs, of course,
Right.
everybody knows it's computers,
Anything with
it's
a
light
plug.
bulbs, it's everything, you know, and I mean, people don't realize.
Christmas lights,
They're,
those are.
yes, right, they're not supposed to throw that out. I think if we promoted this in, you know, and especially on the website or whatever it would be, that, I think people would be more aware of this. And I think, and the only reason I'm saying this is because this company we're using has a good purpose. I mean, the money they get from it helps train,
Veterans,
pardon me?
veterans.
Veterans for computer literate or whatever it's gonna be. You know, it just seems to me to be something, TVs were the big problem. And if we can't find somebody to take TVs, and of course we can't monitor it, then we'd be in trouble. I think that it goes back to we still need somebody somehow to take TVs and Vet Tech won't take them.
Nobody will take TVs anymore.
What are other towns doing? There's other towns that send, what do they do?
There's a recycling place on 183rd in Harlem, I believe, over in that section.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also has one.
But most of this stuff, they track it being built and used, right, or sold or something,
The
right?
computers there were, yes.
So it can't just be in a shed, it has to be in conditioned air, to protect the components.
I think what we're doing, if we open it up and just let people do it on their own, we're gonna get everything there.
Right.
Well, that's the problem. The problem is we have no way of not, of making sure it's on TVs.
Correct.
So I guess we have to point people in another direction. We have to make sure the direction we're pointing to, that the people are okay with it.
Yeah, well, I know the place on 183rd, just, west of Harlem, they do take TV
Yeah.
still, so.
So my thought process on this was that we have the e-waste container removed, find out where people can go to bring the same material, stick flyers on the door at Station 2, because that's where they're bringing them. So if they do show up there, we can direct them to another location.
And there's no way of collecting them. I mean, the Republic has no interest in collecting them.
Well, I'm actually meeting with Hank Potts tomorrow at 2:30, so I can ask him at that point, see if they have anything.
Any ideas on
And,
this?
yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Beautification Committee met on February 19th. I will supply everybody with a copy of minutes from their meeting. I also received some information from Chief Hotwagner pertaining to the deputy chief's vehicle. It has some body repair that is desperately needed. He has got a couple of quotes to have it repaired. Basically, I believe it's hood. David can help me out here.
It's where the antennas mount on the roof is all rusted out. And the back tailgate is, it's like electrolysis, all the paint is peeling off, and it's on the outside around the license plate, also on the inside of the tailgate.
How old is that vehicle?
It is a '07.
So it is obviously a piece of equipment we want to keep it before it gets any worse than it is. And I will share the picture with the board, but I'll have the quotes on that to get the repairs done as needed to eliminate any further body damage. And I believe that's all I have.
Okay. Trustee LaRue.
We have several, a lot of information from the chief office today. The first one was his request to get the command staff kept up with the unions. I gave everyone a copy of that. I think we might get on the finance committee meeting agenda will come up soon. And hopefully get it on the,
I believe we're going to address all non-union employees.
yeah,
Staff
staff
included, so
Right,
yes.
Yeah.
at the finance committee.
Yes. Section included.
We didn't date it.
No.
And he sent me an email today that I'll reference to help out with some of the stuff, but the other one was, he didn't put it in his letter, but we lost another squad at Blue Engine. It's gonna cost us about $5,000 to repair it. So he had spoken to, I believe, trustee Chavone, who had, as chief, worked with Metra. Metra allows $29,000 of the money we collect from Metra to go towards police vehicles and the salary of an officer that
Handles the collection.
handles the collections. So what he's asking, and there was talk tonight about the Metra fund, I don't know how much is in there, I know, I'm not sure how this can work out, but bottom line is we have a vehicle that's gonna cost us $5,000 to fix, and then it's already, the rest of the car is past the prime as well, but if we take 20,000 of that, 29,000 that is allowed by Metra to be used for the police department, and he take, the other 12,000 from the drug seizure fund and purchase his vehicle with no money coming out of the general fund. That's pretty much what he's asking. I'm not sure if that, we need to talk about that in the finance meeting, or,
How much money, if you know this, is available for the drug seizure money?
that's getting close to the end. That 12,000 he's talking about there. Because he's had to use them for buy the other vehicles, to replace the older vehicles. So,
I think we want to know, especially in what the mayor brought up about resurfacing the metro lots, we want the whole package to see where we're going
right,
as far as this whole thing. Oh,
There's about,
Quite a bit, isn't there?
$120,000, $130,000 in forfeiture funds.
Oh, no, I wasn't,
Yeah,
that was,
Police forfeiters,
Which,
state,
there's two.
which one, state or federal or both?
that's combined. There's 55 in the state and 65 in the federal.
The 55 from the state has been drastically reduced, because he used a lot of that by the last new.
Then
The
it's been
federal-
drastically reduced in the last 30 days.
Yeah.
The federal account's far more restrictive
We can't
than
use
the
it for-
state.
so we bought things in the last 50 days? I mean, I'm just asking, did we buy cars?
Well, the last one we approved, the money just came out. It came out after Ryan had that finished.
Okay,
But,
okay.
yeah,
And that was for one vehicle, right?
yeah.
yeah.
So there should be still quite a bit more in there.
What's in the commuter lots? Does it say?
Well, we're not gonna decide this tonight, but I mean, if we wanna wait until the finance meeting but you have the information in front of you, when we get to that meeting, you can hit the ground running. Obviously, it's a little pressing to this because of one vehicle that has a blown engine. He's made do for a couple of years now with piecing together vehicles and keeping it running. You gotta hear that Durango he dragged.
And you have to bear in mind that the least amount of vehicles we have to use, the more use those least amount get.
So I'd like to have that brought up here, at least by the first week in May, so we can move along that. But if we could have the
April?
April, right? So after the finance meeting, we'll put out the agenda. So then that leads me to the email I got from him. He is going to swear in our CSO, Ken Hopman, as a part-time officer. He's done an outstanding job as a CSO, and it would be the right next step. He took and completed, is just about to complete the part-time academy on his own, out of his own pocket. So the long-term plan here is, we were also 3 short from minimum staffing level. That has caused us well over $100,000 a year in overtime. So we swore in an officer last board meeting, which would leave us 2 down. And our hopes would be that we could eventually swear or make CSO Kenneth Hopman a full-time officer. So that would leave us 1 down. Chief Hopman has worked through the schedule and believes firmly that we could eliminate 1 of the officers from that minimum staffing level. Still provide full coverage on every shift and bring overtime down to near to 0. So that kind of leads me back to the first item about the command staff wage increases. His plan would save the village well over $60,000 in salary and benefits. And they're asking for $20,000 a year in increases. So it seems to be a good deal, but
This doesn't affect any union agreements that we currently have.
no. So once he took the part-time academy, once he's sworn as a part-time officer, then he's eligible to be lateral in.
And the board should remember that as a part-time officer, he can make traffic stops, which he wasn't able to do, so the part-time officer should increase the amount of citations written for the various things out of moving vehicles, people driving with cell phones, that type of thing. So it does enhance the revenue opportunity.
It definitely enhances the on the egg, Easter egg hunt, April 4th, Saturday, April 4th, at Village Green. We're getting lots of donations coming in, but we're still fairly short. I'll bring it up again next week. After that, I will be hitting the golf outing pretty hard, looking for golfers and donations. Our golf outing is May 9th, Saturday, May 9th, at Fountain Hills in Ulster. And we are in the very, very early stages of planning a Midlothian block party at the Village Green. The tentative date right now is going to be August 15th. So stay tuned for that. It should be a good time for the Village Green. What's up?
Okay. Trustee Gilliland.
Safety committee was scheduled to meet, but they couldn't meet Tuesday, so they're going to try to meet next month and see what's going on with the crosswalk issue, which we talked about before, or the non-crosswalk issue, well, whatever you want to say. Monday, I attended the South Suburban Land Bank meeting, and something interesting came out of that. I don't know what the ramifications are, but South Suburban Land Bank is working with the Cook County Department of Economic Development. And they're doing a pilot project on economic development as far as housing and flood mitigation. So they're trying to combine those two and see what kind of things they learn from this pilot project. It's a housing development that will include flood mitigation and bioswale, natural deterrents for flooding also. And they're also talking, South Suburban Land Bank is also talking to MWRD, which seems to be pretty interested in the same thing. So that sounds pretty interesting as far as that the land bank can get on board and maybe acquire properties for very little money and can use it for housing or flood mitigation. I think there's a lot of possibilities there. So that was sort of exciting when I heard it. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but it sounds pretty good because, first of all, we have a pretty good relationship with the Cook County people. So, and they have $80 million, I guess, of funding, and they're looking for more. So that could be a very good thing. Working very little bit on the housing idea. We're trying to make sure we don't have perpetual stock of houses that are continually flooded, continually go on foreclosure. And from what I've been able to gather, some of the towns at least that have mandatory housing inspections weren't thinking about anything to do with flooding. They were just trying to keep their housing stock. Make sure that they get a good quality housing stock and make sure it's not low quality and that people can't sell basically slums. They want to try to keep the housing value in the town at a high level. So that was the reason that most of these towns, from what I can gather, passed a housing inspection ordinance. It didn't have anything to do so much what we're talking about. And I think my bet would be more on the disclosures or some sort of disclosure, some sort of database like Trustee Moskal talked about last time, that potential home buyers could access to warn them that properties were flooding or potential flood hazards. At least they would know about it before they bought the property. And hopefully, hopefully we could do this between the land bank, which is we have two of our properties that they have pretty soon. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think the land bank is going to explode. They have a source now with the private bank where they got a line of credit to acquire and rehab properties. So there's a lot of good things happening, and I think Trustee Christ something the other day she's going to work on. There's a property downtown that we might be able to get for a no cash bid. We're hoping and donate it to the land bank. And there's a lot of good things happening, and in no small measure to Midlothian, who put us on a lot of this trick, and we're just following along as best we can. So that's all we have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Moskal.
Yes, ma'am, 3 items. Last Friday, I received an email from the county treasurer's office about the status of our annual treasurer's report, which was not filed, and so I spoke to Ryan, and he and John George followed up with the Cook County Treasurer's Office to let them know that the reason it has not been filed is that we have not completed the audit yet. And apparently they were okay with that response. They know they know what the status is. One of the things that concerned me was there was a threat of halting our tax payments. But John confirmed that that would not occur until 255 days past the due date. And John is estimating that they will finish the audit and be here to see us, he said, in March to mid-April. So in the next few weeks, I would expect that we will have it. That was a minor panic and then resolved. So we talked about a finance committee meeting, which I will coordinate with the members of the finance committee this week. We'll select a date like in the second week in April. And then lastly, I don't know, I'm curious if anyone else on the board has had an opportunity to use the new payment service yet online. Did you like it?
I liked it a lot.
I paid my bill last week when I put in my information to set up my account. My balance was there. It had, transaction history and stuff. It was great.
Well,
Very easy, simple to use.
What I liked is I was told that, like, if I was accepting a huge bill, I could go on, when I had maybe a little extra money, pay it down a little
Yeah.
bit. So I like that, and that's why I was kind of surprised when they brought up that they had a service fee, because I didn't get that.
I didn't either. But very,
We had a good experience.
very user friendly.
Better than-
Yeah.
And to
a
set
lot.
up I only got one email receipt instead of two from somebody that I didn't know. Back and it has all your balance information and your history, so anyway, I had a good experience with it. Hopefully we'll continue to hear good feedback. We'll look into the issue that Nita raised, but if you hear anything else about trouble people are having, let us know, and we will resolve it, and that's all I have tonight.
Okay, great. I have nothing under my business, trustee, or I'm sorry,
No.
Mike Holstead, clerk.
I gave all the trustees a copy of a letter from Park Lawn requesting, they're having a charity motorcycle run, which is actually starting in Crestwood and ending at Sullivan's in Midlothian, and requesting that, same as in the past, the Kilpatrick half the street be closed for parking of the fire, or the motorcycles from 147th Street to 146th Street, I think, or 46th Place.
Yeah, it's
Right,
gotta be coordinated with the fire department.
correct,
Yeah.
yes. So, there's,
I do have one concern. I don't know if that was the one, but last year we had a bunch of motorcycles at Sullivan's, and then I was driving down 147th, and we had two guys running out in the street in direct traffic. I mean, I think there has to be something. I understand that the motorcycles they were trying to make a left turn a lot of times into Sullivan's. They were going east. But I mean, I don't think that's the way to do it. I think if the fire department, police department should coordinate with them somehow to make that a little cleaner and neater, because these guys were dressed up, and they didn't have these special yellow jackets or anything. There was no special.
Yeah, we can maybe even get EMA to just be out there to direct the traffic if that's what they're doing. If they come down Cicero to 147th and then make a left on.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're running out and they have to.
I think the recommendation last year was to hire an officer to do it, and they refused. They didn't want to spend money on an officer to keep them
Maybe we
safe.
should I don't know if we should put that in EMA. I think EMA is great. I don't know if we should tax them with all day. I don't know if it's all day. I don't even know if it's.
it's
mainly
from 12
the
p.m.
afternoon.
to 6 p.m.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't know, but I mean, I would rather have an officer out there and.
Supplying a municipal employee or volunteer or whatever for privately functioned fair might be a little bit of an issue.
Might be.
A little bit of an issue. We're supplementing a private entity with municipal services.
I don't know if we're gonna do that for anything, for nothing. Did you just say that you were gonna?
He just said he wouldn't pay for
Recommendation
it.
last year for Sullivan was
They didn't wanna
to
pay
hire
for
an
it.
officer.
He didn't want to pay for it.
Okay.
Well,
No, we're not gonna, I understand but I think we should require them. My own thoughts, I think we should require them to have an
that's what
officer
the
and pay for it.
response should be. back, as this is obviously a dangerous thing that is required. I mean, they don't get a chance to turn it down, they just not have their function.
Exactly.
How many bikes were there last year?
Quite a few.
All
And that may be another issue too, with parking, now that the
Now that Burke House is the one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They're only taking,
They're
the
parking
2
on the street.
lanes in front of Sullivan's of parking. And then that's why they want the other half of the
Kilpatrick.
street of Kilpatrick, so they can park the motorcycles.
Are they gonna use Tiffany Plaza at all? Did they say anything about that?
They didn't say anything about Tiffany Plaza.
That's all they're gonna do. There was a lot of, from what I could observe, there was a lot of motorcycles there last year, and I wanna make sure 146th was passable at some point, to some, to some degree for emergency.
And that's what the fire department.
Yeah,
is.
and I understand that, but.
So the live music is inside?
In Sullivan's,
yes,
inside Sullivan's, yeah.
And my recommendation is to
I'll
send
send
Art
copies
along
to,
and tell them we need to have some kind of security for.
yeah, I'll talk to the fire police.
That's probably what we need for the whole event,
No, I thought it was just to get them in and out
when they show up.
when they show up. Because they're not leaving from our location
They're leaving from Crestwood.
Right,
and ending.
They're
They're
ending
ending in
Sullivan's.
Sullivan's.
so they're gonna come down Cicero, go east on South, they wanna go on the north on Kilpatrick, so.
Right. And once they're all
If they have
there,
any bikes, they're gonna do that, okay.
right. Okay. Okay, with nothing else to come before the board this evening, at 8:12, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Have a good night.